on YouTube? It is Ungar to the Max coming at you with today's live episode of the Sports Room Talk Show. A salute to you. If you haven't done so already, make sure you spike on that subscribe button like David Njoku when he scores a touchdown and dunk on that like button like Donovan Mitchell. I think that's the intro I'm going to go with now. Spike the subscribe button like David Njoku and dunk on the like button like Donovan Mitchell. What do you think? Do you like that? But it is week 14 of the 2025 NFL season. And normally around this time, the AFC playoff picture and the NFC playoff picture are starting to come into focus. We know generally who the good teams are, who the bad teams are. But here's all I can do with the 2025 NFL season. We have no freaking idea who the good teams truly are and who the bad teams truly are. So, with that in mind, I am going to attempt, and I emphasize the word attempt, to give you my top 10 teams entering week 14, as well as my top 6 games to watch entering week 14. So let's get right into it. We got a couple honorary mentions. My first honorary mention goes to the Houston Texans. The Texans, their defense is absolutely legitimate. They completely shut down whatever the Indianapolis Colts have been trying to do. Spoiler alert, I do not have the Colts in my top 10. But the Texans defense, they have been getting after it, whether it was Josh Allen or this week, Daniel Jones. Granted, Daniel Jones is dealing with a bad leg injury, but even still, Houston was making life hell for Daniel Jones, and the Colts just couldn't get anything going offensively. I would like to see Houston do a bit more offensively on their end. They did just get C.J. Stroud back, so we'll see how that helps in terms of the passing game. But I have the Houston Texans as an honorary mention. My other honorary mention goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's right, I don't have Tampa Bay in my top 10. Yes, they are coming off of a win against the Arizona Cardinals, but they still don't have Chris Godwin. They still don't have Mike Evans. Yes, they got Mike Evans back. I understand that. Or not Mike Evans. I'm sorry. I meant, yes, they got No, let me try that again. This is what happens with live TV sometimes. So, forgive me. Yes, they are without Mike Evans. Yes, they are without Chris Godwin. But they did just get Bucky Irving back. There we go. And that will definitely help. And they still have Emeka Egbuka. And Baker Mayfield has taken a little bit of a step back. But, he's still playing well, which, as a Browns fan, I don't love. But whatever, because we could have had him here in Cleveland. But, no, that didn't end up happening. But, anyway, so Tampa Bay, they have an important win over Seattle, but they did just get shellacked a couple weeks ago by the LA Rams, and they still have 2 games left against the Carolina Panthers, who did just beat the LA Rams. I think the Panthers are absolutely legit. You will see I've got them in my top 10, so stay tuned for that. But for now, I've got the Buccaneers as an honorary mention. Now, let's get to my top 10. At number 10, I completely wrote this team off after they traded Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. I thought they would only win 4 games this season, especially with Brian Schottenheimer as their head coach. And Dak Prescott is absolutely making me eat my words. Yes, at number 10, it is America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. the Cowboys offensively are clicking on all cylinders, whether it's running the ball with Javonte Williams, the passing game with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. And if I'm Jerry Jones and the Cowboys front office, I'm getting an extension done with George Pickens as soon as I can. Because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's only a 1-year deal with George Pickens. So he could be a free agent at the end of this season, whenever that is. So he's been a great piece alongside CeeDee Lamb. And now defenses can't roll their coverage solely to CD because you're going to get beat by George Pickens on the other side. And of course, defensively, they lose Micah Parsons and everybody's piling on them, rightfully so. But what do? They go out and get Quinton Williams from the New York Jets, or as I like to call them, the New Jersey Jets. They go get Logan Wilson. Overshown has come back and made a huge difference. They're flying around. They've made the necessary plays that they need to defeat the Kansas City Chiefs on Thanksgiving. And so, yeah, I have to give Dallas their credit. They have proven me wrong. They're 6-5-1. They've got a huge game on Thursday against the Detroit Lions. By the way, I do not have the Lions in my top 10 right now. So if the Cowboys can go into Detroit and beat the Lions, then you're really saying something, because the Philadelphia Eagles are scuffling. And the Cowboys just beat them a couple weeks ago. And you know there hasn't been a repeat champion in the NFC East since 2004. And it looks like Philadelphia is on track to break that. But if the Eagles keep sliding and the Cowboys continue to ascend, maybe that streak stays intact. We shall see. At number 9, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville, they host the Indianapolis Colts this week down in Jacksonville, which Indy never beats the Jaguars in Jacksonville. So instantly advantage Jacksonville. But they're coming off of a game in which they completely took out the Tennessee Titans. And maybe Trevor Lawrence has finally figured it out with Liam Cohen as your head coach. Took you a while, Trevor, but welcome to the show. And, they're doing this without Travis Hunter, the guy they moved up for to take him number 2 overall. And in terms of rushing, Travis Etienne had 12 carries, not even for 30 yards. He only had 12 carries for 28 yards, 0 touchdowns. In terms of receiving, though, that Jacoby Myers trade paid off huge for them. He had 6 receptions for 90 yards, 1 touchdown. I left 21 points sitting on my bench from him. Brandon Strange had 3 receptions for 45 yards. Brian Thomas Jr., 2 receptions for 28 yards. Parker Washington, 1 reception for 26 yards. So Jacksonville's doing a good job spreading the wealth, not force-feeding it to Brian Thomas. And then in terms of their defense, they got after Cam Ward. You had Devin Lloyd making plays. You had Antonio Johnson making plays. Josh Hines Allen had 2 sacks. And Austin Johnson also had a sack. So they seem to be figuring it out. I would like to see them run the ball with ETN more. That does scare me a little bit, because if you get into the playoffs, you're going to have to be able to run the ball. And I'm not sure Jacksonville commits enough to it. But, again, they host the Indianapolis Colts this week down in Jacksonville. And it's a 3-way tie right now. between Jacksonville, Houston, and Indianapolis for the AFC South Division title, which again, I have no idea why Indianapolis is in the AFC South, because they are most definitely not in the South, but whatever. You know, somebody must have been drunk when they put the Colts in the AFC South. Really weird, but still, it's an important game for the Jaguars. Extremely important. Because looking at their schedule the rest of the way, I'll pull it up right now. They've got Indianapolis this week. Then they host the Jets. They're at the Broncos. I could see that game getting flexed into Sunday Night Football in Week 16. They've got 2 games left against the Colts. This week in Jacksonville, and then Week 17 at Indianapolis. And then they finish up the season against Tennessee. So they already played their 2 games against Houston, and they split those. They won at home back in Week 3 against the Texans, and then the Jaguars had that collapse down in Houston later in the season. That was Week 10. So it's right there in front of the Colts, or I'm sorry, in front of the Jaguars. It's just a matter of, can Jacksonville step up to the plate? And again, Trevor Lawrence has been playing well. Like I said, in the game against Tennessee, he threw for 229 yards, which is not bad. He was completed 16 of 27, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, had a quarterback rating of 111.5, so that's pretty good. If Trevor Lawrence can continue to play like that, and if they establish more of a run game with Travis Etienne, then look out. Jacksonville could be a legitimate threat. Could be. At number 8, shout out to my guy, Brandon Lewis. He and I will be live later tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern, for championship rings. But I'm shouting out my guy, Brandon Lewis, because at number 8, you've got the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles got punched in the mouth by the Chicago Bears on Black Friday in Philadelphia. The one bright spot is A.J. Brown went off in terms of fantasy this week, so thank you. You helped me take down the last remaining undefeated team in my fantasy league. So that's the big feather in my cap. Boop. But in terms of the Eagles, you know, we know their offensive issues. They have not been able to run the ball effectively with Saquon Barkley at all this season. Their passing game has been hit and miss. It's mostly been a miss. But we thought the strength of the Eagles was their defense. And yet, Chicago was able to run all over them on Black Friday. It was honestly kind of crazy. I was not expecting that from the Eagles, or from the Bears, actually. It was the Bears that more impressed me. Because you had Caleb only passed for 154 yards. And he completed 17 of 36 passes. But, you know, Kyle Monangai, 22 yards, 22 carries, 130 carries. DeAndre Swift, 18 carries, 125 yards. They both had a touchdown. Kyle Monangai broke off a run for 31 yards. DeAndre Swift had a long of 23 yards. You look at the receiving. Cole Kmet, 3 receptions for 36 yards, 1 touchdown. Luther Burden, 4 receptions for 33 yards. And then over at Philadelphia, A.J. Brown, 10 receptions for 132 yards. And then after that, it drops all the way off to Devontae Smith, 5 receptions for 48 yards. Saquon Barkley, 13 carries, 56 yards. Jalen Hurts, 19 of 34, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. So not bad by Jalen Hurts. But still, like, we thought, oh, the Eagles are a great team. You know, they're going to beat you with their defense after what we saw them do against the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. But then they come out and have a clunker like this. They are they are 3-1 against the NFC North this season as they beat the Vikings, they beat the Lions, and they beat the Packers. But their one loss was against the Chicago Bears. And they are the defending Super Bowl champions, but they don't look like the defending Super Bowl champions right now. At number 7, they laid an egg on Monday Night Football out in the Bay Area against the San Francisco 49ers, but then they came home and maybe it was a bad day by the LA Rams. Maybe it was the elements down in Charlotte. I don't know, but all credit to this team. Bryce Young, I've been a big believer of you this season. I have been riding the train for this team for a while. You got the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers. Like I said, they laid an egg on Monday Night Football a couple weeks ago against the San Francisco 49ers. And then on a short week, they had to fly home and get ready to take on Matthew Stafford and the LA Rams. Of course, the Rams, everybody was crowning them as the best team in the NFC. And a lot of people, myself included, had the number 1 in the power rankings. And Carolina they really did a great job in that game. Bryce Young, I don't know what it is. Like, I've been saying for the past season or two, will the real Bryce Young please stand up? Because we've been seeing 2 different versions of Bryce. One game, he'll put on a great performance. The next game, it'll be 3 or 4 interceptions. So you don't know which version of Bryce Young you're going to get week to week. So that's why I have the Panthers a little lower on my power rankings. Like I said, I've got them at number 7. But, Bryce Young was finding Ted McMillan. They were running the ball effectively with Rico Dowdle. And if they get into the playoffs, they could be a dangerous team. And they still have 2 games left against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're on their bye this week. So that's a great way to go into your bye by beating the LA Rams. It doesn't help that Tampa Bay plays New Orleans this week. So that hurts the Panthers a little bit. But looking at the Panthers' remaining schedule, coming off their bye, they're at New Orleans, then they host Tampa Bay, then they host Seattle, and then they're at Tampa Bay to finish the season. Once they get past New Orleans, that's when we're really going to find out about the Panthers, because I believe in them more than I do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But again, you've got 2 of your last 3 games against the Buccaneers. Then you had to play the Seattle Seahawks. So we're going to find out a lot about the Panthers. I believe in Carolina, and I hope they can back me up. But just to give you a couple stats from that game, Bryce Young, 15 of 20, 206 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Chuba Hubbard had 17 carries for 83 yards. Rico Dowdle had 18 carries for 58 yards. And in terms of receiving, you got Jake Coker getting 4 receptions for 74 yards. Ted McMillan had 1 catch for 43 yards, but that was a huge touchdown late in the game. Rico Dowdle made a couple catches. Chuba Hubbard made a couple catches. Mitchell Evans made a handful of catches. Trevor Etienne made a few catches. Tommy Tremble made a few catches. Xavier Leggett had a catch. So I'd like to see Bryce Young continue to develop, distribute the ball, but at the same time, establish that connection with Ted McMillan. He's been a huge pickup. When the Panthers first drafted him, I was like, What? Why are you drafting Tut McMillan? You need to protect Bryce Young. But Bryce has developed a great connection with him, and I want to see the Panthers in the playoffs. I do. And I think they are going to win the NFC South. Yes, I'm saying it right here, right now. I think the Carolina Panthers are going to win the NFC South. At number 6, you've got the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers, after playing on Monday Night Football, I thought they were going to have a hard time because they played on Monday Night Football in San Francisco. Then they had to fly across the country to play the Cleveland Browns here in Cleveland. Bad weather. They lost a day of practice because of travel. They're playing Shedeur Sanders in his second career start, so not a lot of footage on Shedeur. And San Francisco has not won a game here in Cleveland since like 1984. I was at the game back in 2023 when San Francisco came to Cleveland and they were undefeated, and Jake Moody missed the potential game-winning kick, and the Browns beat them 19-17. And I was like, okay, I think the Browns can beat the 49ers. And my score prediction was 17-10. Well, I was wrong because even with all their injuries, the short week, having to travel across the country, playing in bad weather, San Francisco still put a whooping on the Browns. 28, I believe it was 28-6, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check on that. Yes, it was. No, I'm sorry. It was 26-8. There we go. 26-8. And Robert Saleh's defense. How's it going, my friend? But Robert Saleh's defense, even without Fred Warner and some of the other key pieces, Saleh has been a fantastic defensive coordinator. I think if he got another opportunity to be a head coach in the right place, he could flourish. I think the only reason it didn't work out for him as a head coach was because he was with the New York Jets. If he got another opportunity in a stable organization to be a head coach, I think he would be fantastic. But that's a different discussion for another day. You know, with San Francisco, I don't know how they're still doing this. Basically, all they have offensively is Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle. I don't think Juwan Jennings is anything special, really. And yes, they've been able to do it with Brock Purdy and Mac Jones. But even still, this team starts and stops with Christian McCaffrey. If they get him going early, they are a hard team to stop. And, did the Browns make a couple dumb decisions in that game? Yes. I don't know why they tried going for it on that fourth down with Harold Bannon lining up under center. And San Francisco definitely got a lucky break when we mishandled I think it was a punt, and the 49ers ended up with it deep in Browns territory, and they cashed in both times. You got to give them credit. But I'm still a little unsure about this 49ers team. But we're going to find out about them because, well, we're not going to find out about them this week because they're on their bye week, and then they play the Tennessee Titans. But in week 16, they're at the Colts. In week 17, they host the Chicago Bears, and in week 18, they host the Seattle Seahawks. So in those final 3 weeks, that's when we'll really learn about the 49ers because they will be at the Colts, and then they host the Bears, and then they host the Seahawks. The 49ers already beat the Seahawks in Seattle, and Seattle looks totally legit we're of course going to get to them a little later in my power rankings. Um, but we'll see. But for now, San Francisco, you're at number 6. At number 5, they've taken a bit of a tumble. You've got the LA Rams. A couple weeks ago, the Rams were number 1 in my power rankings. It was coming off of the game in which they beat the Seattle Seahawks. But the Rams, maybe it was just a bit of a clunker. Don't know. It could just be an admiration, but we shall wait to see. But either way, the Rams are still a very good team. I have Matthew Stafford second in my MVP rankings right now. Drake May is firmly at number 1. But Matt Stafford has been fantastic for the Rams this season, along with Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. There have been talks that they're trying to get Aaron Donald to come out of retirement for this playoff run. We shall see if that comes to fruition or not. But you got Jerry Burris, you got Byron Young. This Rams team can get after the quarterback. They are a scary team. By the way, I think the Rams have one of the best helmets in the NFL, if not the best, actually, with those Rams horns on the side. The only downside for the Rams is I wish they were doing this in St. Louis. I will never forgive Stan Kroenke for screwing over the city of St. Louis. Never. So, Stan Kroenke, I despise you. You screwed over the city of St. Louis. At number 4, because we have now hit the top 4. So just to give you a recap up to this point. Number 10, the Dallas Cowboys. Number 9, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 8, the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 7, the Carolina Panthers. Number 6, San Francisco 49ers. And number 5, the LA Rams. And now we've gotten to number 4, and they are currently the number 1 seed in the NFC. So if the season ended today and the playoffs started, the road to Super Bowl 60 would go through Soldier Field in Chicago. And they've got a massive game coming up this week in Lambeau Field against the Green Bay Packers. They actually play the Packers twice in the next 3 weeks, with a game in between against the Cleveland Browns in Chicago next week. Of course, I am talking about the Chicago Bears. Ben Johnson has come in and made an instant impact for the Bears. Caleb Williams looks like the number 1 quarterback. It's crazy. Matt Eberflus looks like even more of a dweeb, given what Ben Johnson has been able to do with this Bears team. And like I said, they went into Philadelphia and absolutely punched the Eagles right in the mouth. I will pull up the stats here in a second, just to reiterate my point. Caleb Williams, 17 of 36, so not bad. 154 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But it was in the running game where the Bears were really effective. Kyle Monunga, 22 carries, 130 yards, 1 touchdown, a long of 31 yards. DeAndre Swift, 18 carries, 125 yards, a touchdown, 23 yards was his longest. The Bears are legit. I did not think I would be saying that in year 1 of the Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams pairing. I didn't. But yet, here they are. Cole Kmet had 3 receptions for 36 yards. Luther Burden, 4 receptions, 33 yards. Colston Loveland, 3 receptions, 28 yards. DJ Moore only had 2 receptions for 17 yards. I could see a scenario where maybe the Bears trade DJ Moore this offseason. We shall see. But I, as much as I like the Bears, their defense does scare me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Um, Kevin Byard had six tackles. One Kevin Byard had 5 tackles, or I'm sorry, 6. I'm not even gonna get into the defense. I'm getting myself all confused, so my bad on that one. But like I said, I got the Bears at number 4. At number 3, you've got the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks absolutely destroyed the Minnesota Vikings 26-0. And Sam Darnold, he made the Vikings instantly regret giving him up and letting him go to Seattle. The only thing holding Sam Darnold back are the LA Rams. Literally. If the Seahawks can beat the Rams on Thursday Night Football in a couple weeks in Seattle, the road to Super Bowl 60 is going to go through Lumen Field, and good luck getting a win in noisy Seattle. But this Seahawks team is legit. They can run the ball with Charbonnet and Walker. I love their receivers with Jackson Smith and Jigba, trading for Rashid Shaheed. Their defense is vicious with DeMarcus Lawrence and some of the others they have up there. They are absolutely legit. I don't even have the Denver Broncos in my top 10. What the heck? I just realized that. How do I not have the Denver Broncos in my top 10? What? I don't know how that's possible. How do I not have the Denver Broncos in my top 10? That's a big error on my part. I am so sorry, Broncos fans. I don't know how I omitted you guys. You are right in contention for the number 1 seed in the AFC, though my number 1 team in the power rankings is most likely going to get that 1 seed. But in the meantime, Broncos, you absolutely belong in the number 10, in the top 10. I'm actually going to bump the Cowboys down to number 11. I'm going to bump the Jaguars down to number 10. The Eagles will go down to number 9. The Panthers will go down to number 8. The Panthers will go down to number 8. The 49ers will move down to 7. And the Denver Broncos will slide in at number 6. So, my top 10 now upgraded because again, Broncos fans, I'm so sorry. So at number 3, I've got the Seattle Seahawks. Number 4, the Chicago Bears. Number 5, the LA Rams. And at number 6, I just did this live on the fly, the Denver Broncos. The Broncos, let's talk about them so I don't forget again. They had to hold on for dear life against the Washington Commanders. So that's why they slide in at number 6. Again, I apologize. That actually moved the Dallas Cowboys to number 11. So this is now my top 11 teams. Again, we're adjusting on the fly here. But in terms of the Broncos, it's always been their offense that's kind of held them back. I'm a big believer in Bo Nix. I know others are not, but they've got Jaleel McLaughlin at running back. They've got R.J. Harvey. I like Cortland Sutton. Evan Ingram has been a nice piece for them, but it comes down to Bo Nix. I am a believer, but the question is, when it gets into crunch time, can Bo Nix make those plays when he absolutely has to. He did in the Kansas City game, and he did to a certain extent in this game against Washington, but it was more so the defense that shut things down. Nick Bonito absolutely has to be the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year. You got Patrick Surtain, the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, and on the back end, and this Broncos defense, they will shut you down. So good luck, but they still have to play the Chiefs in Kansas City, and if you want to become the king, you have to knock out the Kings. And while it looks like the Broncos are going to end the 9-year reign of the Kansas City Chiefs as AFC West champions, I still need to see them go into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs. Even though I don't have the Chiefs in my top 10 and I don't have them as an honorable mention, it is still Patrick Mahomes. It is still Travis Kelce. It is still Andy Reid. Still Arrowhead Stadium. Let's see the Broncos do it. I think they still have to play the Chargers, if I'm not mistaken. So I fully believe in the Broncos, but they're a little lower because I didn't love that they went to overtime against Washington. And then at number 5, like I said, you got the LA Rams. At number 4, you got the Chicago Bears. At number 3, the Seattle Seahawks. And coming in at number 2, shout out to my guy, Tom Grossi. You got the Green Bay mother-loving Packers. The Packers. Detroit Lions fans were saying, oh, just wait until Thanksgiving when you come into Detroit. Oh, yeah? Well, they waited until Thanksgiving, and what happened, Lions fans? You got swept by the Packers. As Jordan Love found a connection with Christian Watson, and I was watching the Packers, and I'm like, where has this offense been? Come on. I had high hopes for Jordan Love. As soon as they trade, I had high hopes for the Packers, or high expectations and high hopes for the Packers. But once they made the trade for Micah Parsons, I put them not just as a Super Bowl contender, but I've got them beating the Baltimore Ravens in Super Bowl 60, which, as you notice, I don't have Baltimore or Pittsburgh in my top 10 because I don't trust either team. But they do play each other. Best rivalry in the NFL. We'll get to it. But in terms of the Packers, Jordan Love played an exceptional game. He hit some beautiful passes to Christian Watson, and Dontavian Wicks. Micah Parsons and the rest of that defense were just getting after Jared Goff and that Lions deep offense all day. And they basically used the Lions' aggressiveness against them because it was the Packers going for it a couple times on 4th down and converting. But the Packers are not the number 1 team. Coming in at number 1, they absolutely dismantled the New York Giants on Monday Night Football last night, wearing their Pat the Patriot jerseys. It is the New England Patriots. Yes, they've had a really soft schedule, but you can only play who's in front of you. And the Patriots have taken full advantage. And they're not just beating these teams. They are completely blowing them out. Yes, the Giants got back into the game a little bit, but it was never really in doubt. I think New England was up 30-7 at halftime last night. Drake May, for me, he is the number 1 candidate for MVP. If I had a vote right for MVP, it would go to him. He has been playing exceptionally well, delivering the ball to Stephon Diggs, Hunter Henry, Booty. They're running the ball well. I'd like to see them run the ball more with Travion Henderson rather than Ramondre Stevenson. But at the same time, Mike Vrabel, even when Ramondre Stevenson fumbled the ball a couple times earlier in the season, did he bench him? No. He said he stood by his team. And I think the players fully respect that. You know what's crazy is the Patriots basically just finished their dynasty, and now they might be on the verge of starting another one. And the Buffalo Bills are like, hey, what the hell? Like, we were supposed to run this division. And the Patriots are just sitting there laughing, going, ha, ha. You thought we were done? Hell no. That's why I continue to say the Buffalo Bills window is not just closed, it is not just closing. I think the Buffalo Bills window is closed and shut. Because all they have is Josh Allen and nothing else. But getting back to the Patriots, they might have found their next version of Belichick and Brady. Mike Vrabel is Bill Belichick, and Drake May is Tom Brady. I'm not saying Drake May is going to go on to become the GOAT and win 6 Super Bowls for New England. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying Mike Vrabel is going to go on to have this Hall of Fame coaching career with the Patriots, but they are the next installment of that. And you've got Josh McDaniels as your offensive coordinator. Again, I get it. They're playing one of the easiest schedules. But you can only play who's in front of you. And I believe in the Patriots. In terms of my MVPs, I've got Drake May number 1. I've got Matt Stafford number 2. Dak Prescott has quickly shot up my MVP rankings. He is now number 3. Given that basically he's all San Francisco has, I've got Christian McCaffrey at number 4. And at number 5, I've got Caleb Williams. I did actually scratch that. At number 5 in terms of MVP, Bryce Young. So my MVP rankings, Drake May number 1, Matt Stafford number 2, Dak Prescott number 3, Christian McCaffrey number 4, and Bryce Young number 5. Now, let's get to my top games to watch this weekend. My top 6. We're going to start at number 6. But before we do that, I want to give an honorary mention to the Tennessee Titans at the Cleveland Browns. This is obviously going to be another integration of Tank Bowl. Shout out Urinating Tree. But the reason I'm putting it as an honorary mention is because it's Cam Ward against Shedeur Sanders. Cam Ward was for a long time the clear-cut favorite to be the number 1 pick, but there were a lot of discussions of Shedeur Sanders also going in the first round. And he did. He fell all the way to the 5th round. Now they're going head-to-head in Cleveland. So, just because it's Cam Ward against Shedeur Sanders, Titans-Browns gets an honorary shout-out. And somehow, some way, the Browns have not yet been eliminated from the playoffs. Well, are they going to make it? No, they are not. No. If they had beaten the 49ers, I would have said, yes, there is a possibility. But now that we have suffered our 9th loss of the season, it's not going to happen. But now let's get to my actual top 6 games of Week 14. Starting off at number 6, we've got Monday Night Football, the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the LA Chargers. First of all, how are the Eagles going to respond after getting absolutely punked by the Chicago Bears at home on Monday Night Football? The Eagles, they are the defending Super Bowl champions, but they certainly don't look like the defending Super Bowl champions. A.J. Brown had a great game. Didn't help the Eagles win, though. And then, like I said earlier, A.J. Brown had a great game. But then there was a huge drop-off before you got to Devontae Smith. I'll just read you the stats again. A.J. Brown, 10 receptions for 132 yards. After that, it drops off to Devontae Smith, 5 receptions, 48 yards. That's not good. And then on the other side with the LA Chargers, they're still right in the mix for the playoffs. However, Justin Herbert had hand surgery. So we shall see if he's going to play in this game. And if he doesn't, it's going to be Trey Lance. And that's part of the reason why I don't have the Chargers as a top 10, or I'm sorry, top 11 team right now. They were this close to being an honorary shout out, or honorary mention, but because of the uncertainty of Justin Herbert, I can't put him there right now. But if the Chargers can beat the Eagles on Monday Night Football in LA, in what's probably going to feel like an Eagles home game, okay, I might take you seriously, Chargers. At number 5, we've got Sunday Night Football. You got the Houston Texans taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs, if the season started, they would not be in the playoffs. Think about that. Patrick Mahomes has never been eliminated prior to the AFC Championship. And yet, right now, he would not even be in the playoffs. The Chiefs basically have to win out and have a couple things go their way in order to make it to the playoffs, because they currently sit at 6-6. But it's not going to be easy on Sunday Night Football, because you got the best defense in the NFL coming to town, and C.J. Stroud is back. And if the Texans want to stay in the mix for the AFC South, they've got to win this game. And it's not easy to go into Arrowhead on Sunday Night Football and beat the Chiefs. Yes, I will be watching this game with the regular commentators. I'm just going to have to suck it up and deal with Chris Collinsworth basically having a love fest for Patrick Mahomes. It really gets irritating to listen to at times. I don't enjoy it. But last time I tried to find a radio broadcast for Sunday Night Football, it didn't work. So I'll just deal with it. At number 4, you got the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Indianapolis, cannot beat the Jaguars in Jacksonville. I don't know what it is, but whenever the Colts go down to Duval, they usually come out of there with a loss. You got Daniel Jones playing on a broken leg. Jonathan Taylor has not been the same. They lost Sauce Gardner to an injury. They just lost at home to the Houston Texans. The Jaguars are surging right now. So this is a big game, because right now the Jaguars sit in first place in the AFC South. But the Colts could potentially take that back if they beat the Jaguars. Do I think it's going to happen? No. I think Jacksonville continues to dominate the Colts in Jacksonville, and the Jaguars will strengthen their hold on the AFC South. At number 3, you got the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Detroit Lions. Detroit, we'll see if they have Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're dealing with injuries. Sam Laporta probably isn't going to play in this game. And, they are coming off of losing at home against the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving. We had high expectations for this Lions team, and Dan Campbell just continues to be aggressive on fourth down. It's like he's forgotten that they have a kicker. I don't know why he loves to go for it on fourth down so much. He's taken over play calling. It hasn't really worked. Meanwhile, you look at Dallas, like I said, ever since they traded for Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson, plus they've gotten Overshawn back, they've looked like a completely different team. I think they've been galvanized by the tragedy that is the loss of Marshawn Kneeland. I send out my condolences to the Cowboys organization, his friends and family. if you need help, please talk to someone. Somebody's always going to be there for help. You just have to talk to the right people. He was gone way too soon. But like I said, they are running the ball effectively with Javonte Williams. I love what Dak Prescott is doing with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. And this Cowboys offense is firing on all cylinders. In my preseason predictions, I had them finishing with 4 wins, being one of the worst teams in the NFL. Yet here they are at 6-5-1, right in the mix of the playoff picture. And this game could go a long way in determining whether Dallas makes it or not. Same with Detroit, honestly. This game is important for both teams. At number 2, from Lambeau Field, it is the Chicago Bears taking on the Green Bay mother-loving Packers. Man, I wish I could get up to Lambeau Field for this game. Holy crap. This is probably the biggest Bears-Packers game since the 2010 NFC Championship. That's the last time I can remember a Bears-Packers game being this important. And they play each other twice in the next 3 weeks. Like I said, the Bears play the Browns in between these 2 Packers games. But right now, the Chicago Bears are the number 1 seed in the NFC. You got everybody hyping them up. Green Bay's coming off of a awesome performance on the road in Detroit against the Lions. The Bears are doing the same, coming off of a huge win in Philadelphia against the Eagles on Black Friday. Something has got to give in this matchup. I really can't predict a winner right now. I think it is going to be a unbelievable game that comes right down to the final seconds. I think I would give the slight edge to the Packers just because this game is in Lambeau. But it is going to be fantastic. And at number 1, my personal favorite rivalry in the NFL, in my opinion, this is the best rivalry in all of the NFL. It is a top 3 rivalry in all of sports. The fact that this is a 1 o'clock game is a travesty. Because when the Pittsburgh Steelers play the Baltimore Ravens, oh, it is must-see television. Think of how many big games these two teams have played. They typically play, well, they always play twice a season because they're AFC North foes, but sometimes they end up playing a third time in the playoffs. The 2008 AFC Championship, they played each other in the wild card round back in 2014. When these 2 teams have played, usually it's not just bragging rights on the line. It is AFC North supremacy, which is the case in this game. You think about Steelers, Ravens, Troy Polamalu, Ray Lewis, Ben Roethlisberger, Hines Ward, Ed Reed, Joe Flacco. Oh my God, I can keep going on and on and on. I absolutely love this rivalry. It is, for me, it is the best rivalry in the NFL. And the fact that I cannot watch it is absolutely ridiculous. Now, thankfully, I have NFL Red Zone, so I'll be able to watch it that way. But the fact that this game is being played at 1 o'clock is absolutely ridiculous. What are we doing, NFL schedule makers? Why would you put the best rivalry in the NFL at 1 p.m.? Steelers-Ravens is not a 1 p.m. game. That game belongs either on Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, or at least in the 4 to 4:30 range. With either Burkhardt and Brady on the call on Fox, or Jim Nantz and Tony Romo on the call for CBS. Which, by the way, Jim Nantz and Tony Romo will be on the call for this game, even though it's in the 1 p.m. slot. But will I be able to watch it? No! And that's annoying. So, just to recap one last time, my top 11 teams heading into week 14. At number 1, you got the New England Patriots. At number 2, you got the Green Bay Packers. Number 3, the Seattle Seahawks. Number 4, the Chicago Bears. Number 5, the LA Rams. Number 6, the Denver Broncos. Number 7, the San Francisco 49ers. Number 8, the Carolina Panthers. Number 9, the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 10, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And number 11, the Dallas Cowboys. And my top 6 games to watch. Number 1, Steelers Ravens. Number 2, Bears Packers. Number 3, Cowboys Lions. Number 4, Colts Jaguars. Number 5, Texans Chiefs. Number 6, Eagles Chargers. So that's going to do it for this live edition of Ungar's Power Rankings. And I will see you next time for another episode of the Sports Room Talk Show.